Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming back again. Today we have something kind of interesting. This is going to be Ken Shoulders number 43. And John Hutchison, the last time he was in our group on number 40, he talked about a gentleman named Mel Winfield that was a friend of his. And he basically sent me the front cover of this paper as a screenshot. And when I read through part of it, I decided that we needed to have a look at it. So it was actually written by Tim Ventura from APEC with Dr. Mel Winfield, January 16th of 2006. Mel has since passed away because John did send me his memorial stuff. This guy's work is goes really far back, as we're finding out just now in the meeting here, even back into the early 70s. And I believe that he was on the money so much that his theories went into the dark projects. And that's why there's only one paper that, other than this paper, that we found. So today we're going to have Chip Reed. So Brandon, let's bring it up and we can get going.
Right, right. Okay. Paper is titled Nucleonic Energy. Subtitle, Melville Winfield puts a spin on a Hutchison effect. Dated 2006. In italics, the Hutchison effect is a striking collection of levitation and materials effects that have gone 20 years without explanation. Or has it? Scientist and inventor Mel Winfield claims that today's Hutchison effect arose as a validation of effects predicted by the vortex gravity theory of nucleonic energy over 20 years ago, and joins us to talk about his model of physics to offer insight into this compelling mystery. All right, let's start out with the basics, which in this case is a model of nucleonic energy that you're proposing will allow the generation of large-scale anti-gravity effects. Question, can you tell us a bit about nucleonic energy? This is a give and take conversation. The science of actuality, in quotes, and give us a bit of insight into how you're manipulating gravity. Winfield's response, in my book and on my website, I have described the nature of gravity and proved it with the application of mathematics of Heinrich Magnus, a German chemist. Interesting. Who was explaining why a spinning baseball curved. I love baseball. I applied this to spinning protons and neutrons in the atom known as nucleons and have shown why this results in a gravitational force downwards. I have a number of references to the concept in my book, besides that in my website at nucleonicenergy.com.
Interesting. He has a book. I forgot about that. We're going to have to try and track that down too.
Yes. Yes. And he's right down at the proton and electron level. Very interesting. Yeah. Sparky Sweet all over again. Here we go. Is the portion of the energy acceleration, which is the strong force of the particle vortex that we are tapping to reverse the nucleon spin axis so that this force is directed upwards or other directions instead of downwards by the direction of the incoming electrons. Polarizing gravity. We are driving electrons into the atom. How the electrons that get through the electron barrier to be absorbed by the proton enough to reverse polarity is due to when enough electrons equal or better the energy of the proton so that their reverse spin becomes dominant. I know that frequency at which the proton will absorb energy and its maximum, and it is this, or its harmonics, that is necessary.
Yeah, the frequency, right? Interesting.
Yes. AAG question. Now, before we progress further, I should delve into the applications. You've unequivocally stated that your theoretical models have direct experimental proof in the form of the well-known Hutchison effect. Can you provide some insight into how this effect works in the context of your theory? Winfield's answer. I am not saying that John has not spent a lot of time on his project trying to make it work on demand. He won't be able to do this without some changes in his equipment. Emphasized in yellow, I'm only claiming to have originated the theory behind it and to have urged John to combine our equipment to accomplish it.
Bingo.
Whether we had thought about trying to do this prior to 1981, next page, or even had anything unusual happen due to this due to his electrical discharges is beside the point. True efficient levitation could not happen before our equipment arrangement. We didn't believe it was possible before this, as he had told me, and he didn't understand it afterwards, as he told the CBC, who photographed a sponge rising 15 feet or more into the air. Question, AAG. Your website, spacatelescopes.com, talks briefly about your background and PhD. Can you provide us with a bit more depth on your educational experience and how this led to the development of your theory? Winfield's response. My book will speak for itself regarding my education, although I've tried to keep the language simple. I do not have a PhD. I didn't quite get there when I went to the University of British Columbia due to funds.
Mm-hmm.
The degree that I have is a Doctor of Metaphysical Science from a university in California. It is recognized in that state. I used some of my book as a thesis for this after taking their courses. It was the last chapter in my book in which I used science to confirm many of the metaphysical phenomena. My scientific education has spread over a lifetime, and based on my book, I believe that I have surpassed most of the present-day scientists. All right, little ego is important. AAG question. For those in the audience who might believe that you're only doing theoretical research, I'd also like to touch on your hands-on work in industry and as an experimentalist. You've done work in mining and construction industries and run several companies. Can you elaborate a bit for us?
Chip, I don't
Okay,
know if you can read the
barely.
diagram.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
I can.
Blow it
At
up
the
just a little, I'll be able to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is the real important stuff right here, right?
I'll blow it up more. I'll blow it up more. Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
I'd like
So
to
let's
see it.
digest this for just a
I won't go. It
second.
won't go anymore. It won't go anymore. It won't enlarge anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So he is displaying a vortex, an atomic vortex, as a nucleus. Direction of proton enlargement. Resultant direction of acceleration is included. So they're showing motion at an atomic level with a direction of pressure, with the potentials built as a result of the motion. And it's vertical, I'm imagining. There's some stagnation points, monopoles, stagnation points shown in there in terms at a molecular level. All right, so increased velocity is the topic here, subheading. Increased velocity increases centrifugal force, causing downward movement. Opposite corners at top, as proton goes against pressure, losing centrifugal force and dropping equal around it at the bottom.
Amount.
All right, so
Equal
yeah,
amount.
Okay.
That's to the bottom.
Proton spin drags wave stream to the right, increasing velocity and decreasing pressure, so that higher pressure on the left accelerates the proton around the nucleus. Atomic orbits. Winfield theory states that the Magnus effect is involved in a vortex theory of gravity.
Very interesting. I have not heard of the Magnus effect.
I have.
All right, so
Carry on.
Just to get oriented. The question is the big circle Is that represent the nucleus of an atom, or does that represent an atom? What's the big circle? I can see where.
I I think what you said at the beginning, it represents the nucleus of the atom, because essentially those arrows are showing how it rotates, from one position counterclockwise.
Atomic vortex nucleus is pointing. So that I
Shows
think
the
the big round
nucleus. Yeah.
circle is atomic vortex nucleus,
Okay, and then the small
and then
circle
the
represents,
direct
let's say, a proton or a neutron.
stagnation points. Atomic orbits. Winfield's theory states that the magnetosphere is involved in a vortex theory of gravity. Resultant direction of acceleration. It's the nucleons, but
He's showing I think he's
nucleons are
showing a
within
quadrupole. Brendan, I think he's showing a quadrupole there in the lower left,
in
the force
figures
diagram.
in
Yeah.
figure 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that stagnation point. So you're right about that being
below
the
if proton
monopoles.
is non-rotating. Figure 1, figure 3, figure 2. Figure 1 is flow if proton is non-rotating. So that looks like it's the
Yes.
proton, and this looks like the atomic nucleus. Nucleus can be made up of protons and neutrons, I suppose. So, okay.
So he would be
So
seen to be.
there'll be multiple of the little ones, right? He's just showing one, but the idea we made a vortex out of the whole nucleus, and we have these particles participating, protons or neutrons, as diagram, and that's the gist of it. Then, do I have the
Yes.
right picture? Is the question.
Yep,
But I think
I think so.
Interestingly, figure 1 subheading is flow if proton is non-rotating. When the hell is it ever non-rotating?
Yeah, I think he's just doing that to show the theory. This probably comes from his book,
Yes.
right?
All right.
These figures. So we need to do more research.
Yeah, hunt down the
Definitely.
book, right? That would be a biggie.
Yep.
This is a nugget. Yeah.
Yeah, this is huge. And thank you, John Hutchison, right? Because this came right from John. That's why I got onto it. So yeah.
Okay, so the question to go back is, can you elaborate a bit for us in this research he was doing? Winfield's answer: in my early years, I spent 7 years in the mining promotion and exploration field, including hard rock mining and diamond drilling. I've had several inventions on the market in the past, such as an electronic timer that converts to the amount of money owing for pool rooms.
That's
a
fun.
superior shoring jack that I manufactured for the construction industry with 16 employees and had some springless overhead doors, which I manufactured for 15 years. I also manufactured other construction projects with 15 employees. AAG, question. Another interesting tidbit from your website is a lengthy biographical reference to Dr. Hans Nieper. From reading the article, it seems that his work affected your own views. And I'm hoping affected spelling with an A and not E. And I'm hoping you could provide some insight on why Nieper's research is important. Winfield's answer: I am not referring to Dr. Nieper's work. I'm just showing his importance in the scientific field and that he was supporting me.
Okay.
AAG, question. Highlighted. I guess to touch on a more simplistic concept, while learning about your theory online, I noticed a reference to the concept of tapping the angular momentum of a nucleus, of an atom. And how does this relate to gravity modification, though? Okay. Next page. Winfield's answer: I have discussed this at the beginning, since I've shown that all particles are vortexes and that there are vortexes within vortexes.
Interesting. Right.
Russian eggs. Here we go.
Yeah.
From the subatomic to the universe itself, the angular momentum therein is a source of energy that drives one body towards each other, toward another, or towards each other, which is known as gravity. Yeah. Omega, the angular momentum. The spin rate is what? Time.
Yeah, that's right.
Tensorial time, by the way, as in T of XYZ. All right. As you know, AAG's question, the topic of torsion theory has recently resurfaced with some interesting new connections between Tesla, Einstein, and the Hutchinson effect. In that context, hearing you talk about controlling the spin axis of the nucleon sounds remarkably similar to the idea of spin fields for controlling gravitation in torsion theory models. Given Einstein's apparent belief that spin may in fact have been a fundamental fifth-dimensional force, do you think that your theory is reinforcing his views, or is it simply a case of coincidence? Winfield's answer: in the case of coincidence, it is a case of coincidence. I do not regard nucleonic force as a fifth-dimensional force.
Thank
Maybe a
you for
part of the
saying
theory
that.
reinforces, maybe part of his theory reinforces my views. Okay, so emphasized in yellow, AAG's question. As I understand things, Hutchison typically uses an array of RF amplifiers, Tesla coils, and Van de Graaff generators to produce his levitation effects. In your model, how do these high voltage electrostatic devices modify spin to create anti-gravity effects? Okay,
Yeah.
here comes the scripture and the gospel that is the secret sauce. Winfield's answer: I'm not about to publicize my levitation or equipment at this time.
Mm.
I have the moral obligation to my shareholders to keep most of the details confidential. Big mistake. I will say this much. An important aspect of the development of this technology is control. The levitation must take place at the time when one flicks on the switch, not after an hour or several hours of fooling around.
Hmm.
I think he was referencing John's effects there.
Yeah, exactly.
I have accomplished this with small objects every time of any material. I have been waiting for further financing to purchase some modern equipment that will enable me to do the same with larger objects. Then there is further development after that. In the meantime, I have perfected my theory. Emphasized in yellow, I lent John Hutchison a piece of equipment in 1981 to go with his existing tools to duplicate Tesla's transmission of electricity through the air. John subsequently phoned and said that he had operated all the equipment together and was very surprised that a heavy bar of plastic had flopped over. It was hard for him to believe until further experiments verified it.
Wow.
Okay, we'll skip the picture on the right there. Tesla coil, Hutchison's hand-wound coils. Yeah, okay. For experimental testing, hand-wound bifilar coils probably. Okay, AAG's question. Speaking of Hutchison, I should note this, the statement on your site that you were actually the person who recommended the experimental setup that eventually led to his levitation effects.
Wow.
Can you tell me a bit about early days and how Alex Pizarro and John Hutchison got involved with your research? Winfield's answer: John met me at one of my lectures. After the lecture, he told me that he had equipment to try to duplicate Tesla's transmission of electricity through the air. We go to the next page. In yellow, emphasize, recognizing that coupled with my Van de Graaff generator, it might be what I needed for levitation. I asked him, this is Winfield responding, I asked him if he would work with me towards this goal. He agreed, and I lent him my Van de Graaff. It worked.
Wow. That's a huge statement. Nobody knows about this really, right?
Electrogravitics. Yeah, Jesus. AAG, new question. You've talked about Hutchison attending one of your early lectures. I thought it would be fascinating to learn a bit more about these events. Can you give us a bit more detail on the lectures that were used to deliver, especially in terms of the standard where, when, who, and how they were received by the public? Winfield's answer: when I lectured, it was usually a summary of my theoretical work, together with scientific verification of some of the metaphysical phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
He is yet to talk about consciousness. The
Mm-hmm.
public was quite attentive. AAG's next question. Apparently, Hutchison's not the only person with levitation effects. You've talked about a levitating tuna can. Can you describe for us a bit about your own levitation experiments and whether you'd ever been open to releasing photos or video of these experiments to the public? Winfield's answer: I have a couple of demonstrations on editions on my website with some preamble necessary to view them, as they are not as clear as I would have wished. Emphasized in yellow, they were only with a small Van de Graaff just to prove that the partial levitation weight loss on a scale could be done practically instantaneously after flipping the switch. The tuna can was John's challenge to me. He wanted me to also show all my equipment.
Wow.
I'm not about to divulge this, although my electronic engineer has built some remarkable equipment. However, we still need about $25,000 worth of additional solid state equipment and working capital. I'm hoping that someone out there who will work with me, my federally incorporated company, to provide it. AAG. I recently had the opportunity to visit Hutchinson's residence and learn about a variety of anomalous effects that he's documented in yellow, emphasized that he's documented in addition to levitation, including the jellification of metals, called the Narrows Bridge, objects becoming reportedly invisible, and numerous other anomalies. Have you seen any of these other anomalous effects in your own research? And can your theory offer any insight on how to explain them? Oh, gee, the starship just dematerialized right in front of my face. Okay, Winfield. With the new equipment, I probably will have to wait for the funding. The major part are more powerful. The major part of what he needs, I think, are more powerful power supplies and solid state weighing 42 pounds each. They need to be a solid state for precision. When dealing with nucleons, there is no room for variable voltage, as is put out by vacuum tube technology. That is why it sometimes took hours for John to get something to happen. Also, that's an interesting insight. Wow. Yeah, because everybody likes vacuum tube. All right. Also, I want to build a larger and new kind of Van de Graaff generator.
That's super important too.
Yes. So electrostatics. We go to the next page. The bending and merging, which I saw, was due to the changing angles of the union between atoms, which in turn were due to a changing frequency.
Yeah.
If anything became invisible, it would have been because the frequency was above or below light frequency in which our eyes operate.
That is super important too, right there, right?
Jesus, that's terahertz frequency. So, wow. Wow.
Yep.
That's down in the engine room, isn't it? Holy gee.
Yeah.
He's way down in the engine room here. All right. AAG, since you're working with your own set of equipment, I'd be remiss not to ask at least a bit about the equipment and lab setup that you're using to generate effects, and whether you've ever seen the new effects not reported by the Hutchinson Hathaway Pizarro team. Winfield, I'm not going to divulge much about our equipment. Much of it is proprietary. All right, AAG, I think that most people would consider these amazing effects to be a validation enough for your theory, but I also like to ask about whether it makes predictions, that can be confirmed in mainstream science, such as possibly by astronomical, cosmological, or other disciplines. Winfield's response. My book is about much more than just levitation. I have most of it confirmed by mathematics. Purposely not much is past algebra. I believe that some of it could be confirmed through astronomy and through testing on long space flights. AAG's question. Like yourself, a large part of your audience are interested in doing experiments on their own. Can you suggest any experiments that the average person can build, or is the equipment set up simply too complex for even small-scale experimentation? Winfield's response. I cannot suggest any experiments without giving away too much information. AAG, well, in addition to your website, I'd also like to talk about your books. What you have written, where can people buy them to learn more about your research? Winfield's response, my book, The Science of Actuality, it's 240 pages, each 8.5 by 14. There are many scientific breakthroughs. Among other things, I replaced Newton's gravitational formula by eliminating G, the gravitational constant, which is not accurate. Extended Kepler's formula, proved the basis of the theory of relativity to be wrong by using the mind experiment of the boxcar as an example. Jesus.
I know,
It is
right?
said, yeah, he's throwing curveballs here everywhere. It is said that the whole project of theoretical relativity is simply the application of the Lorentz transformation, which Einstein used and called the relativistic factor. I've heard that from one Dave Rossi. All right,
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
boxcar mind experiment was supposed to support the idea that this factor, the idea of this factor, but now it disproves it. The boxcar mind experiment was supposed to support the idea of this factor, but now it disproves it. In emphasis, I've shown that light speed can be variable. How the galaxy and solar system was formed. Next page. How the galaxy and solar system was formed from an interaction of standing waves,
Bingo.
cymatics, and discovered a new cosmic principle that links the spin of a body to its orbital path curvature. For an example, I calculated the spin of the Earth from its orbital data. This eliminates the need for curved space.
Wow.
A few other things that are on my website under my name. Oh God, bad grammar. Also click on an order book and how to order the book. The International Center for Theoretical Physics in Trieste, Italy, division of the United Nations, and an International Atomic Energy Agency thought enough of my book to place it in their library for the benefit of their visitors.
Hmm.
All right, so a little footnote here. Dr. Mel Winfield is an independent inventor from British Columbia, Canada. He holds a doctorate in metaphysical sciences from the University of California, from a university in California, and serves as the founder of the Winfield Industries, Northwest Engineering Limited, and Winfield Invention and Research Limited. You can visit Winfield's site online at nucleonicenergy.com.
I'm wondering if someone can go on the Wayback thing and find his website. You know that?
I already did, Ed. It is there
Oh, cool.
on Wayback, so you have to go back a little bit, but yeah, there's some archived stuff on there.
It, can you share that in the chat with us?
Yeah, let me get the link out.
Yeah, that's amazing. And if you don't mind, could you also email that to me?
Absolutely.
That would be awesome. Yeah, because what do you guys think? I think this guy's work is really important and we need to dive into it more.
God, he was hitting on all cylinders, near as I could tell. The only thing he did not address is tensor time. The spin of the vortex he's describing, he's got omega in there. Angular momentum is gravity. The spin rate is time. He did not address that. And, you know, obviously that's my soapbox. You guys have heard me
Yeah.
talk about it a million times. And we're getting downloads on it, and amazing downloads on the actual aspect of three-dimensional time and how important it is to work it into this whole thing. But
In his book and stuff, he might talk more about it because this is
he,
just a quick skim over, by Tim Ventura, basically, right?
yeah, I'd be surprised if the book is still in Trieste. I'll bet it got yanked by the deep state and it's no longer there. Maybe Michael can find it on
Might be able to
Wayback
get
as well.
So it seems like his foundation is an ether of some sort, obviously, because he
Yeah.
has a
Yeah.
vortex phenomena, and the Magnus effect is the curvature, right, due to the interaction with the media. And so it appears to be a traditional ether type model, hydrodynamic in nature.
Hmm.
Uh, and so I think that's his starting point, and then at that point he's able to basically build all this up. So it's yeah,
Murray,
it's
I
hard
have
to
a
say because go ahead.
I have a question for you. Have you ever heard of Mel Winfield before?
No, I haven't.
See, there you
This this
go, right?
this is the first time I've heard of him.
Yeah.
But it definitely seemed like he wanted to be secretive with any experimental technology. Obviously, it's obvious that his ideas are rejected because it's well out of anything in the standard physics. So
Yeah.
the surprise is the Physical Review published an actual article, was in the Physical Review back in 71. Now, that's significant if that is the case, because that meant whatever he said there had to get past the reviewers who are pretty well steeped in standard physics, right?
Yeah.
And so that paper, that's the curiosity, is his guidance, his mind, and everything else is definitely guided by this ether theory that he's come up with. And yet, this paper was not rejected.
Yeah.
This paper was considered valid enough to be viable as far as the physical review, because that's kind of like in the United States, that's the most prestigious of our journals
Mhm.
published. So I would say that paper, was he the sole author of that paper in the physical review? So that's the paper Carmen's going to try to hunt down, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Interesting.
so that, right, so that it's very curious to have a very far out idea, right, that's way advanced beyond any of our standard science, yet published right there in the physical review. And that's,
Oh, we have it. It's 1973.
yeah.
Wow. You guys are awesome.
We may need to
Now,
read this.
can we get that sent out to everybody?
I put it
It's
I
a
put it in the chat. So
PDF.
I put it in the chat. So it should
Can we
be.
can
Yeah,
we download it?
and Brandon, could you email it to me,
I can't
please?
download it because it costs money.
Oh, I see.
Accidentally.
Okay.
Okay,
This is the one
well, I
you
think
can't.
at some
Unless
point,
if
let's
you've got an
do that.
institution like a university or an institution, they can access it. You can get it for free if you belong to a
So
university.
Carmen, can Carmen do that? I have this question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay. I'm on Academia right now, trying to find it. I couldn't find it under Mel Winfield.
Winfield.
Yeah, so there was just too many references. So if you can give me any other frame of reference, I hadn't written it down earlier. So I only have Mel Winfield written down. So
Yeah,
if you need
just show the link again. There you go.
There it is. Yeah.
I figure out how to do all this on my devices.
Can we scroll down a little and see the abstract just real quick?
Yeah, let's.
AK Duca, who's that?
But is that him or is that
Yeah,
the
look.
AK
Yeah.
Duda?
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah, I've heard
seems
his name before.
Well,
Duda.
he's the author of this paper, not Mel.
Yes. Let's just read through it real quick, just for giggles. I'll read it real quick. A
Okay.
critical consideration of the Bethe-Weizsäcker relation shows that the surface tension term in it is not appropriate for determining the decrease in nuclear binding energy due to surface effects. The unsuitability of this term makes reconsideration of the expression for energy dependent on nuclear forces imperative. This is exactly what Winfield's talking about, and suggests a different approach for the purpose. The energy per nucleon in nuclear matter of different nuclei with an equal number of protons and neutrons and unaffected by Coulomb and symmetry effects has been found to increase logarithmically with nucleon numbers. It is considered that the increase in energy per nucleon with increasing nucleon number in such an ideal nuclei is caused by increasing superposition effects of internucleonic forces and is determinable on statistical consideration. The energy in nuclear matter of different nuclei thus obtained actually measures the energy caused by nucleonic forces in the Bethe-Weizsäcker relation, dependent on nucleon members only. The expression for ideal energy of nuclei reduced by suitable expressions for the decrease in energy because of the different conditions of actual nuclei determines the corresponding expected value. He's injecting entropy into that statement. He's wrong. It sounds like he is. These different amounts of reduction in energy are controlled by the internucleonic forces in ideal conditions, and hence a derivative, partial derivative, whatever that thing is, the energy per nucleon in nuclear matter. A complete expression for the expected nucleonic energy for optimum condition, isobaric nuclei in different excited states in real nuclei is expressed as an equation, and in that are buried alpha and epsilon and powered logarithmics that are quaternionic minus alpha n natural log e to the minus of the very last term. That's quaternionic. Interesting. The
So
experiment.
is it conventional? Is it conventional? Anyway, go on, read the rest of it.
It would appear to be, yes, it would appear to be.
So he
So
may have
the
done,
very
he
last,
may have done alternative physics and conventional physics on the side, so.
I think so. Right on. I think that's what the last statement is. The experimental energy per nucleon is strongly bound nuclei of different nucleon number finds good agreement with only the first repulsive term, which is what he just
Paul
put there.
Laviolette did. I think Paul Laviolette did that sometimes. I think sometimes in astronomy journals, I think Paul Laviolette sometimes did conventional astronomy just to get some attention, and then he goes back to his alternative physics later.
I believe, do you know when the quark theory was accepted? This may have been after 73.
Mhm.
And so now we're looking at he's contributing, this author's Duta is contributing to a model that he referenced to somebody else, and they're groping towards making a model of the nucleus. Now, can we cross-check that? I don't know
Quark
the
theory was
history
generally
well enough
accepted.
to,
Quark theory was generally accepted by the physics community in November 1974, following the discovery of the charm quark.
Okay, so we're in 73, and it had to be reviewed prior to that. So this is a competing model for the nucleus, and it does not. Where's Winfield's name? We have this paper appears to be by Duta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that it talks about is nucleonic energy. That's the only reference back to Winfield that I could see, right? Is this nucleonic energy.
Well, no, right. Well, they're trying to model the nucleus, and they have to deal with trying to describe the strong force. So nucleonic energy is just what's going on inside the nucleus. That's a common expression.
Oh, I was going to ask you
So
about that.
who said this paper was done by Winfield? How do we trace this particular paper back? Why did we pick this particular reference?
I think it was Michael. Michael, wasn't it?
Who said this paper was related to Winfield?
Well,
Me, no, I didn't find it.
Oh, who found this one?
I think this is the one you mentioned to me before, Eddie. You said, where did you say it? He said it here. Blah, 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 blah. Let's not share too much on the bit on the recording, but
Okay.
you say you thought that this paper was related to the session we did today.
Yeah, but who did you just find this today and put it into the chat?
Yeah, I went back into my
Okay.
Signal and found out where you'd asked for the paper that the cost $35 to buy.
Okay, so it's maybe not worth the $35 because it's not really talking. It's talking about nucleonic energy, but not Mel Winfield as such, right?
Mel Winfield. Did it say it in here? Does it say it in here? No, nucleonic.
Well, Moray said that it's kind of a common term, though, right?
Right. It talks about they're trying to model nucleus, and
yeah.
So, but somebody had to come up with that reference. It's a very particular reference, and we thought up until this moment that this is the paper that was published by Winfield himself. That he submitted a scientific paper accepted by the Physical Review, which made me sit up and say, "Oh, this is highly significant if they accepted his paper here." Yeah. And all of a sudden, we go looking and say, "Okay, it's not his paper." But somebody had to think it was for us to even have it.
I think that was Brandon. That was Brandon that found it and put it in the chat.
Eddie, let me just tell. I can't remember. Blah 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 blah. Brendan, maybe you can see if you can get this PDF. That was you had asked me back that in November 3rd.
Yeah.
Brendan, would you
make that bigger so we can see what it all says?
Yeah, and click on AK Duda also at the top of the.
So is that Eddie? You asked me back in November 3rd, Brendan. Maybe you can see if you can get this PDF. You can't blah blah blah. You didn't really tell me much about it. I thought you thought it was related.
You know what? Yeah, I thought it was his paper too, but I see that it was in the that it was, where did we find this again? It was in maybe the chat of the thing. I'm not sure where I picked that up.
Yeah. Anyway, doesn't.
But anyways, yeah, it doesn't matter. We should try and find his book, you guys. That's what we should try and find. And go back and get his website if we can get it on the Wayback Machine or whatever it's called.
Yeah. See, Brendan, will you click on his name,
I've
please,
got
on the
the
top of that
got the
abstract?
links in the chat, Ed.
Which one's that? Which one's
Okay.
that?
A.K. Duda. Yeah, click on his name because I did a grok search on him and he's a chemist or a biologist. Doesn't even have anything to do with physics. Right at the top of the abstract. Yeah. So it looks like a link there for his name.
There,
I'm just
there.
curious. Yeah, click on that. Asim Kumar Duda. He's Indian, obviously.
True electron atom. Okay, this is nuclear stuff.
Yes,
Oh,
it is.
okay.
Yeah.
So he's definitely a player in
he's
physics. Even if his major was chemistry, he is definitely making these models with
Yeah.
the atom. He's pretty current too. Look at that. There's 2004.
Yeah.
He's participating with the team. He's a pretty
There's his
standard
name.
physicist.
Yeah,
Interesting.
okay. All right, so yeah, it looks valid.
It sounds like Michael had found some links that are in the chat. He just said, so maybe we can click on that and see what comes up.
Right. So basically, hang on a minute. Let's just show again. Share, and the chats. So I haven't found blah blah blah. What's this? Michael. So
I think this is his book, is it not, Michael?
Yeah, that's the book reference, one of the book references that I found.
Oh, perfect.
I haven't seen any for sale, so I'm not sure, I mean, it's probably going to be,
Used book, probably.
yeah, I mean, definitely a used book, I think, since it's fairly old at this point. But
look at that
I
one.
just don't know how many were available for general sale since like they were kind of, go through his website, but
Yeah.
they might not come up with great frequency. But I wonder if Ed, you might ask if John was friendly with Mel. Maybe he
I-
has the book.
Yeah, exactly. That is a very valid point, and I can definitely do that. Yeah, as a matter of fact, John will probably be watching this because I think he watches us. So, but I will ask him, and I just
Yeah,
took a screenshot of that so I can send that to him and say, hey, do you have this, or do you know where we can get this, basically? And
yeah.
any other information that he has too, because he just sent that screenshot. John sends stuff all the time, all kinds of crazy cool stuff, including something that he sent me the other day about the Golden Dome that Trump is talking about,
Mm,
missile defense. That's what John did with Star Wars, right? So he
mm,
sent me this cool thing talking about this new setup that they're going to use for the missile defense dome.
right.
Hmm. Very cool. Well, Brandon, maybe we should probably end the recording now and we can get into